God is placing something on your heart right now, something you've been trying to ignore, something you've tried to pray away, something you've tried to convince yourself isn't important. But He keeps pulling your attention back to the same question, the same frustration, the same wound. Why does He care for you so deeply, yet she's still in the picture? Why does His heart reach for you, yet His life still circles around her? Why does God keep showing you signs, yet the situation looks unchanged? God says, listen closely, because the truth you've been waiting for is not hidden, it's unfolding, slowly, steadily, divinely. You've been carrying the weight of confusion, the sting of mixed signals. The ache of almost, the ache of not yet, the ache of I feel Him choosing me, but His actions are still tied somewhere else. And God knows how tired your heart is. He knows how you've been replaying every moment, every word, every shift in His tone, trying to figure out why He gravitates toward you so naturally and yet hasn't fully closed that chapter with her. God says, you are not imagining anything. You are not overthinking. You are not misreading the connection. What you feel is real. What you sense is divinely placed. What pulls Him toward you is not accidental, it's spiritual. But here is the truth God needs you to hear: His heart is awakening before His life is catching up. His feelings for you are ahead of His circumstances. His soul has recognized something that His mind hasn't found the courage to act on yet. And God says that you must understand the difference, because you've been blaming yourself, wondering if you're not enough, if you're being foolish, if you're standing in a place you shouldn't be. But God says, stop. Don't wound yourself with lies that were never meant for you. The reason she's still in the picture is simple but heavy. He hasn't healed enough to walk away from familiar patterns. Not love, patterns. Comfort zones. History. Habit. Obligation. Guilt. Trauma bonding. The weight of promises he made when he was a different version of himself. God says He's in the process of breaking free internally, but everything external takes time. He's mentally and emotionally shifting toward you, but not all people move with the same speed in their actions as they do in their feelings. God wants you to understand something deeper. You awaken something in Him that scares Him and attracts Him at the same time. You stirred His spirit. You stirred His desire for real love, real connection, real growth. You stirred the parts of Him He thought were long gone. And there's a beauty in that. But there's also fear. When someone meets a love that challenges them to grow, they don't always run toward it immediately. Sometimes they freeze. Sometimes they cling to what's familiar because it feels safer than stepping into a future they aren't prepared for, and God says, stop interpreting His hesitation as rejection. The hesitation isn't about you, it's about what stepping toward you requires Him to become. You are not asking Him for a simple choice. Your presence asks Him for transformation. And transformation is uncomfortable, even when it's good. God also wants you to see that she is not in the picture because she is better or stronger or more important. God says that the only thing keeping her in the picture is unfinished spiritual cleanup. Ties that haven't been fully cut. Chapters that haven't been properly closed. Patterns that haven't been confronted. God is revealing that the presence of another person in his orbit doesn't diminish how he feels about you. It exposes how much he still needs to grow before he can stand beside you the way you deserve. God says you keep asking, if he loves me, why doesn't he choose me fully? And God responds with something you might not expect, because God does not want you chosen halfway. Because God does not want you entering a relationship built on unresolved history. Because God does not want you carrying the weight of someone else's unfinished battles. Because God wants the man coming toward you to be whole, clear, ready, and willing, not torn. Not confused, not split between two worlds. You are not meant to be the woman he runs to for escape. You are meant to be the woman he runs to with certainty, and that certainty is forming, slowly, quietly, beneath the surface of his life. God is working on his heart. He is shifting his perspective. He is awakening his conscience. He is removing the illusions that kept him tied to what was never meant for him long term. God says the situation looks delayed, but spiritually, things are moving faster than you think. There is a truth God wants you to hold on to. Her presence does not threaten your purpose. You are not competing with her. You are not fighting for position. You are not being tested against someone else's place in his life. God does not operate through competition, he operates through alignment. If this man is aligned with you, nothing can keep him away. If he is not aligned with you, nothing can force him to stay. But God says the pull between you two is not ordinary. It is not superficial, it is not a passing moment. It is soul-level recognition, and he feels it too, even when he tries to hide it. There are moments he looks at you and feels peace he's never found with her. There are moments he thinks of you and suddenly feels clarity about his life. There are moments he hears your voice in his mind long after the conversation is over. And he can't explain why. He can't run from it. He can't shake it off. Because it's God, whispering through you, moving through you, calling him toward the future he hasn't yet had the courage to choose. God says, you don't need to chase. You don't need to compete. You don't need to prove anything. What's yours will not require you to fight another woman for it. What's yours will arrive with peace, not anxiety. God is not asking you to force anything, he is asking you to trust what he is untangling behind the scenes. God is preparing him, not to keep you waiting endlessly, but to bring him to you in the right timing, healed, decided, and fully present. You have a role too, to stay aligned, not attached, to stay grounded, not desperate. To stay open, not obsessed. God is teaching you not to settle for crumbs of reassurance, not to collapse under confusion, not to mistake delay for denial. God is teaching you to stand in your worth even when the situation feels blurry. Because the moment you step into panic, you forget who holds the pen. And God says gently, you do not need to rewrite this story. I am writing it. Let me finish. Your heart has been bruised by uncertainty, but God is restoring it with truth. The truth is, He loves you. He feels you. He sees you. He is drawn to you in a way He doesn't understand. But the story is not fully written yet, and God needs him to complete his chapter of release before He can begin His chapter with you. God knows the quiet ache you carry, the one you don't tell anyone about. The ache of feeling chosen in moments but not claimed in full. The ache of feeling Him move toward you, only to pull back into silence. The ache of being spiritually connected to someone whose physical world hasn't caught up. God says He has seen every tear you tried to blink away, every moment you tried to convince yourself not to care, every night you told yourself you were done, only to feel that same tug in your spirit the next morning. That tug isn't weakness. That tug isn't fantasy. That tug is divine timing at work, even when it feels like delay. God wants you to understand something you haven't considered. Sometimes the love is real, but the readiness is not. Sometimes two hearts recognize each other long before the life circumstances align. And God isn't asking you to suffer through His confusion, He's asking you to stop interpreting His confusion as a sign that you're unworthy. You are not the problem. You are the clarity in His life, and clarity always exposes chaos before it brings peace. She is still in the picture because He has not yet confronted the emotional debts He still owes Himself. He has not confronted the pieces of Him He abandoned in past relationships. He has not confronted the guilt, the fear, or the pressure that has tied Him to situations that no longer reflect His heart. God is working on him. But what God is undoing inside him is deeper than you realize. There are wounds he never admitted. There are fears he never spoke out loud. There are lies he believed about himself that made him accept less than he deserved, and those lies kept him connected to people he wasn't meant to build a future with. You came into his life like a mirror. You didn't just attract him, you revealed him. He saw himself differently around you. He felt more alive, more inspired, more vulnerable, more hopeful. And that terrified him because hope demands change. Hope demands honesty. Hope demands courage. And for a man who has spent years hiding from his own heart, courage doesn't come overnight. God says He is wrestling with the truth of what He feels for you. He knows there is something deeper. He knows you carry a peace He can't find anywhere else. He knows you understand Him in a way that makes Him feel exposed and safe at the same time. But these truths are new territory for Him, and new territory always triggers old fears. That's why He stays halfway in and halfway out. That's why He reaches for you but doesn't fully step in. That's why He hesitates even when His heart leans in your direction. God wants to comfort you with this. His hesitation doesn't cancel the connection, It proves that the connection is real enough to scare him. But God is not the author of fear. God is the one removing it, slowly, in layers, in silent moments when you're not around, in dreams, in whispers, in conversations he keeps having with himself because you've awakened something he can no longer ignore. She is not your rival. She is not your replacement. She is not your competition. She is simply part of a chapter God is closing. And sometimes God closes chapters slowly, not because he can't move quickly, but because he cares about the hearts involved. God doesn't break people to write your blessing. God transitions people in ways that protect everyone's dignity. God wants this man to leave that situation with clarity, not chaos, with maturity, not guilt. Because when God brings him to you, he wants him ready, not broken, not confused, not grieving what he walked away from. God says the reason you feel so spiritually connected to him is because your souls recognize each other from a place deeper than timing. Timing is human. Connection is divine. Timing can be wrong for a while. But a divine connection never loses its pull. That is why no matter how many times you try to detach emotionally, something always brings your mind back to him. You're not chasing him, your spirit is sensing the shift God is orchestrating. You may not see it yet, but he is thinking about you far more than you realize. He feels the distance when you pull back. He feels the shift when you stop giving your energy freely. He feels the difference between your presence and her presence, and it's becoming clearer to him with each passing day. He's noticing that the peace he has with you is unmatched. The authenticity he feels with you is unmatched. The ease, the laughter, the understanding, all of it is drawing him in deeper, even as he struggles to navigate his current reality. God says you must not confuse silence with absence. A man can be quiet while God is speaking loudly to him. A man can seem unchanged while God is reshaping his future behind the scenes. A man can appear passive while his heart is in spiritual turmoil. And right now, his heart is not calm. His heart is conflicted. His heart is being realigned. Awakened, convicted. God is pressing on the areas of his life he tried to ignore, and that pressure is going to lead him to decisions he's been avoiding for years. God is telling you not to chase certainty from him. The certainty is coming from God. God is telling you not to panic about her. Her place is temporary, and her presence is already fading spiritually even if it still appears physically. God is telling you not to rush the process, because rushing creates heartbreak, but divine timing creates alignment. God is moving in ways you cannot see yet, weaving threads behind the curtain of his life, gently detaching him from what no longer serves his spirit. You've been feeling the shift without understanding it, the sudden moments when he seems different, quieter, more thoughtful, more aware. You sense something is happening, something is changing, and God says you're right. He is awakening. His heart is being softened. His vision is being corrected. The fog he once lived in is lifting, and he is beginning to see the truth he avoided. His future is not where his past has been pulling him. His peace is not where his habits kept him. His joy is not where his fear rooted him. His heart isn't in the place he stayed, it's in the place he keeps finding you. You've wondered why God kept you connected to this situation, why God didn't let your heart shut down completely, why every attempt to walk away felt like turning against something you didn't yet understand. God says it's because you weren't meant to leave before His work was complete. But you also weren't meant to sacrifice your peace for someone who wasn't ready. That's why God kept giving you discernment, why He kept pulling you back to yourself even when the bond between you and Him felt magnetic. God has been protecting you from giving too much too soon. There's a purpose to why you met when you did. A purpose to why your hearts recognized each other instantly. A purpose to why your connection feels ancient, familiar, almost sacred. But there is also a purpose to the delay. Without the delay, He would have come to you broken, confused, and split. Without the delay, you would have lived in fear that she could still pull him back. Without the delay, you would have started a relationship built on unhealed wounds and untied ends. God says, not for you. Not this time. Not this relationship. This one is different. It feels different because it is different. It's not another chapter, it's a destiny shift. It's not another attraction, it's a soul alignment. It's not another person passing through, it's someone God has been preparing, even if the preparation is painful to watch. God wants you to hear this without doubt. Her presence is fading from His life. Not because He hates her. Not because He's angry. Not because He's replacing her. But because His soul is outgrowing what was only meant to be temporary. She represents His past, His comfort zone, His old identity. You represent His growth, His truth, His future. And the soul will always gravitate toward the place where it feels most alive, but God is not sending him to you until he can come clean. God is not sending him until he has the courage to choose clarity over confusion. God is not sending him until he has the strength to break the cycles he's been trapped in. God is not sending him in pieces, He is sending him whole. Because you deserve a whole love, a chosen love, a certain love, a peaceful love. You deserve someone who looks at their life and knows exactly where you fit in it. Someone who chooses you publicly, privately, confidently. Someone who doesn't leave you questioning your worth. Someone who has no one else in the background, no loose ends, no maybes, no hidden fears running the show. God is shaping him into that man, the man who can love you the way you were always meant to be loved, and God says that the day is coming when his actions will match his heart. When his clarity will match his feelings. When his courage will match his love. When he will choose you without hesitation, not as an escape. Not as a rebound, not as a replacement, but as a partner, equal, soulmate. Until that moment arrives, God is asking you to stand in your power, not in your fear. To trust His timing, not your anxiety. To keep your heart open, not desperate. To keep your spirit grounded, not tangled in uncertainty. God is asking you to hold the connection loosely, not tightly, to allow Him the space to work, to allow this man the room to transform. What is meant for you will not require pressure. What is truly yours will arrive with peace, the final truth God lays on your heart. You are not losing. You are being prepared for the win. You are not being overlooked. You are being protected. You are not being rejected. You are being aligned. You are not standing in confusion. You are standing at the doorway of clarity. The situation is not stuck. It is evolving. The connection is not fading. It is strengthening. Your heart is not mistaken. It is guided. And when God finishes His work in him, you will not have to question a single thing. He will come toward you with full heart, full truth, full certainty, and the picture that once included her will finally, permanently, close.